Well, what a fantastic sunrise, and welcome back to the Great Unknown Audio Show with me, your illustrious host and most notorious, most appropriate face for radio, Maxim Jennings. And as you can hear from my voice, we just finished Hanson's Peak sunrise experience, should I call it, sunrise extravaganza. Because I set off at 5 o'clock this morning thinking, oh, please, just don't be terrible. Don't be raining. The weather looks good. We got to Dove Lake car park at around 5:45. And we had about an hour to get ourselves up to Hanson's Peak. It's not a particularly difficult trek up there, but you go past Dove Lake. And there's a various little stop-off points. Glacier Cross, I think it's called, where it's just a little platform where you can see the mountain, which the best I've seen it so far out of this over the course of these last 3 days. And then I made my way up to Hanson's Peak, and just as I got up to the top, you just had those deep orange-yellow colours coming through the valley. And then as I turned around, the purple, there was almost a band of purple that was in the background of Cradle Mountain, and that just made for a fantastic view. Because where Hanson's Peak is, I could do a 180 and look at the sunrise, and then do another 180 and then look at the mountain and look at the coloration behind the mountain, and it was just absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I can't really describe it any better than that. The only other thing I would say is that as the sun started to come out, all of the autumn leaves shone so brightly, and you could really see even the tiny little flowers and leaves coming off their branches one by one. It was glorious, really, and it made getting up that early, doing the walk, smelling a bit because I hadn't showered, incredibly worthwhile. And I'm really happy that I did that, and it was great to see Cradle Mountain, because lots of people who I met on my first trek had said it's one of their favourite walks that they do, and I can see why now, because you have the lake that is just before the mountain, and you have another lake where you can see the sunrise from. They really are beautiful. So it was just an absolutely fantastic start to the day. And now we are at the point where we need to check out of the Discovery Park, and then make our way to the Tasmanian Devil Sanctuary, where I've got a little. I'm not sure how it was described. The feeding was at 1 p.m, but that would be too late for me because I have a 4-hour drive to my next stay for tonight. So I booked something else, which was called the Daykeeper Tour. So we'll see what that's all about. It's only about 45 minutes, but hopefully I can stick around in the sanctuary for a bit longer after that happens. I could do with a good coffee as well. There's no caffeine options at the caravan park, which I have now. So that will be useful if there's one there. So I'll see you after the Tasmanian Devil Sanctuary. And hopefully we will see some Tasmanian devils, as they are an endangered species. So it'd be great to get up close and personal with some of them. Well, what do you know? Another amazing experience, I have to say. Because when I arrived, there was only a few cars here, and then the tour was meant to start at 10:30, and I was the only one there. So I basically got a private tour for no extra cost from a woman who had raised half of the Tasmanian devils herself. And it was amazing, because she took me through all the different enclosures they had, from devils from the age of 10 months who had all been what did she say? They'd been hand bred, so that they were so comfortable to touch and with humans that she could get really up and close with them, and she could cuddle them, and it was really interesting. The devils, obviously being an endangered species, there were so many things that I didn't know anything about the animals before I even came here, but there were so many cool facts and things that took me by surprise. where basically they were wiped out, the majority of them in the mid-90s, after they developed a genetic disease. In the end, turned fatal. If an infected devil had bitten another devil, they would infect them with this disease that would then turn fatal. So all of the Tasmanian devils they have inside the conservation park, the sanctuary, they're all bred. So they must take. So now they don't have this disease anymore, and they're all safe. They're all safe from extinction at the moment. But they're not being released into the wild because it's still quite a common thing that's arising. So they have males and females up to the age of 6 is when their kind of lifespan is, but from the youngest age of 10 months is the youngest one they've got at the moment. And it was really cool because she was saying that basically the females are more dominant than the males, who run the world, girls obviously, and the males kind of make this cry whenever, and it's not the nicest of cries, but whenever they feel endangered, they will make more noise, and the more dominant of the species are able to act calm and not make as much noise because they have that confidence. And so each animal had a different personality, which was really cool, but all of them had this kind of they had this really cute hop, which was almost kind of silent to the ear, and you just hear a little pitter-patter of feet against the leaves, against the ground that they were walking upon, and that was really cool. But I was able to get really up close and personal, and then she was telling me about the breeding, which, oh god, that's the cool part, isn't it? It's not entirely cool. It's quite barbaric, really. The males have to grab the females by the scruff of the neck, which gets bloated during breeding season, and like a lump of estrogen, or the Tasmanian devil equivalent of estrogen, resides on top of the neck, and then the males will see that as a sign to grab the females by their scruff and then take them into their den, and they kind of go at it for up to 7 days. Oh, I was thinking, and then she was pointing me out to who the real lady killers were and who weren't, and you could see the difference because most of the blokes who had at least one or two breedings had a bunch of scars around their arse. So when the females have had enough, they start biting and scratching at the males, and they get all this scarring around them, which it's not the nicest to the eye. And then you see that compared to any of the devils that are up to the age of 2 on the male side. They have a beautiful fur, a beautiful coat, and with no scarring because they're not mature enough yet to mate. But it was a fascinating comparison, and then they seem to be living a pretty good life other than the breeding. But with reward comes lots of risk. I mean, she was pointing out one of the males who got off scot-free one time with no scars, so I need to learn his ways. No, I'm only joking. But an amazing experience. We also saw the spotted quolls as well, who are one of Australia's top 20 most endangered species, who are Australia's biggest natural predator. But they're absolutely tiny and they weigh up to 1.5 kilos. They're like little ferrety things. She said that they don't get as much attention as the devils because they're not as cute. I found them absolutely adorable. They do look a bit ferrety, so I can understand why they put people off. But their fur was absolutely gorgeous. But they are very much endangered. They get hunted a lot by foxes and cats, who aren't obviously natural predators. So they need preserving as well, and they had a bunch of them in the enclosures, in the conservation park. But all in all, a very worthwhile experience, and such a drastic contrast to how I started the day. But I'm really glad I did this in Cradle Mountain, because this seemed to be a hotspot for where they picked up lots of the quolls and the devils as well. So it was really cool to do. And now we have to make our journey south to our next accommodation for the night, which I believe is in a place called New Norfolk. So I'll get back to you when I've made my journey. Probably pick up a spot of lunch and dinner for tonight as well, as we are running low on resources, and my belly is starting to rumble quite a lot. So in the near future, hopefully, I'll be able to solve that problem. And so we have made it to our accommodation for the night, and I am currently in a hammock watching the sunset quite high up in the woodland area, and I have to say this place is gorgeous. It was quite a steep ascent from what one would not call a main road, but it was a dirt track which then led me to base camp Tasmania. It's about 10 kilometres out of New Norfolk. There is literally me and one other group of ladies here, and they're staying in a tent, and I have the dormitory section all to myself, which is overhanging the tree line, and just looks absolutely sensational. It's all solar powered, and there's wallabies absolutely everywhere, roaming free. There was no one here to greet me on arrival apart from the owner's neighbour in a digger, so I had to wave him down and get him to explain to me what the hell was going on. But this place is so remote and isolated, and it's so nice and calm. And you have a lovely view of the surrounding forests, either side of a valley with a creek running through the middle of it, which is great. My drive over here was not too bad. It came in at about 4 hours. I stopped after an hour to get petrol, where I also got a cappuccino and some reduced donuts. Unfortunately, the gentleman who was making my cappuccino spilt it on first attempts all over the other box of donuts. So he gave me $1 off the ones that I bought. But he was very sorry about it, and I didn't really mind. I was really rushed for time, so that was all good. We went through a few Tasmanian towns, and I stopped again to get some groceries for this evening. And I always find it interesting just going through and seeing if the locals are any different from town to town. Which they're not really, but each little town has its own personality, and it's almost like it's just a little strip of high street road, and then you're out of there again. The speedometer signs, the speed limit signs, only go on for about half a kilometre, and then they change back to national again. But it's it wasn't too bad a drive. A bit boring at some points, just lots of farms and plain fields. Not many lakes about in the centre. I know there's Lake St Clair, which is near here, as the sun sets to my east. It's a nice little yellow tints I can see through a bunch of different trees, and there's certainly lots of relaxation points within this facility. Lots of various hammocks you could indulge in and watch the stars in, even if you wanted to. But I'm very satisfied, I'm very happy for just over £20 where we're staying tonight, and this place has got very high ratings, so it's all the more worth it. And that's really going to wrap up today's episode, folks. Amazing seeing Tasmanian devils, as well as watching a sunrise on Cradle Mountain. Two things I will definitely never forget. And it's been a fantastic day. A very steep ascent up to this camp, but and here comes a wallaby. They do like to mind themselves. I think they're herbivores as well, so they're not really going to try and steal any of my food. But I love the way they hop and skip. It's just another piece of Tasmanian surroundings that takes your breath away. But thank you once again, folks, for listening, and I hope you tune in to the next one. Goodbye.